Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and esteemed participants, welcome to the AIM CXO Roundtable, a preeminent in-person discussion and networking event that unites industry leaders, innovators, and decision makers. This gathering is made possible by the support of our esteemed partner, Alteryx. We are thrilled to have all of you with us today as we embark on an insightful and collaborative journey. Your presence is truly appreciated, and we look forward to an evening filled with engaging conversations and valuable connections. Thank you for joining us at this prestigious event. The idea is to delve into the emerging trends, technologies, and innovations shaping the future of decision intelligence. Plus, we will also discuss advancements in areas such as AI, machine learning, predictive analytics, and automation, and their potential implications for decision-making processes. And to talk about these critical pointers, we have lined up a riveting discussion with some of the best minds in the AI and data industry. We appreciate you taking your time off your busy schedules to join us today evening. We hope you will learn a lot today. Without any further delay, let's kick off today's exciting session. To begin this program, I would like to welcome Shomo Das, Managing Director, India Subcontinent at Alteryx, who will give us a bit more understanding of this roundtable discussion and why we have gathered here today. So let's put the spotlight on Mr. Shomo Das.
This is working. I can, otherwise I should be audible. Just to also hear from you, yes, we are an analytics automation platform. We are a very late entrant in India, though we are a 20-plus year company, old company. And significantly, our business is in the financial institution. In fact, almost out of 10,000 customers that we have, a majority of them are large financial institutions, both in banking, finance, and insurance, and securities, and others. So, before we start the discussion, what I would like to do is to ensure that we, I set certain pointers so that will give you something to think about. And we would like to hear from you about your data and analytics journey. What are the challenges that you guys are facing? And that is what. And it's not something which I'm going to be talking. In fact, I'll be, listening. And it is all of you to participate and share your ideas. And there are a set of Shweta will be moderating it. And there are a few questionnaires, questions that she has prepared, which will possibly help you in terms of bringing your thoughts and ideas together. There's a small, as we're talking about decision intelligence, I just have a couple of slides which I will talk about that might give you some ideas why we are talking decision intelligence. Certainly, obviously we talk about business analytics, we talk about business intelligence. So what is decision intelligence? I know all of you know it, right? But there's a significant shift that we see in the overall analytics landscape globally. And what we mean by decision intelligence, just be there in the next slide. If you can just change to the next slide, because I know the world in the last 30 years, when we think of anything related to technology, I think we are leapfrogging. And one of the most used and sometimes maybe a little bit of abused, technology that's being talked about, especially in the area of analytics, is generative AI, the chatbots, and AI and automation. Now, the scope is unlimited. The way all these technologies are coming up. But when we talk about decision intelligence versus, say, business intelligence, what is the primary differentiator that we see? Because at the end of the day, we all know that organizations that are successful are driving are data-driven, right? We're talking about lots of digital transformation happening, but most of the digital transformation eventually boils down to how you are managing your data and how you're bringing all your resources across the organization to participate, and how you harness the power of technology and tools and platform to expedite or speed up your decision-making process. Now, as you see, but we know, the election is coming. I don't know what change is going to come. But if you see globally, and whatever happens globally, though India is not getting as impacted at 10 years back used to, but then we still have certain amount of impact that happens whenever there is anything that happens globally in every market, right? Whether it's US, no, I really don't need this. Whether it's US, Europe, or even in the APJ nations. So environment like this, right? Whenever you're struggling, I mean, one of the area which literally helps us is how best you can use your knowledge, that means data-driven knowledge, to bridge that gap and quicken the process of decision making. And I think that is decision intelligence. That what is that you build? What is that you build with your data which enables you not just the executive, but your line managers and individuals as well, because data doesn't reside only at the center, even though technically it might be more and more you're bringing everything centrally, and that is the most ideal thing to do. But decision doesn't happen always at the center, right? The more, so we use a term, like most of the successful companies that are data driven, and one of that, if I name, is Amazon, and they use our platform. I'm not saying because of that, but Amazon actually has almost 50% of his knowledge workers uses data themselves to be able to take decision, and using automations, using AI to ensure that their data are perfect, there is less anomaly, they're able to find out outliers quickly so that they can quicken the process of decision making. And that's the competitive edge that one gets, an organization gets. The next thing is, how can I mitigate impacts and economic? We have a slide. If you can just go to the next slide, I'll quickly go through so that we can start the discussion. Now, we've seen different, this particular chart shows that how the world has gone through in different times, like Great Recession in 2007, 2008, 9, that time frame. Then we have seen COVID in 2020 to 2022. And there are many other things like the Ukraine war, the Israel issues, international complexities that are coming, environmental issues. So there are multiple things that at times is impacting every economy. And when it impacts economies, it's also impacting business, industries, organizations. Now, there are always outliers or organizations that are breakaway. And these breakaway companies are always, they keep on performing better than the peer groups. And the only reason is that they do something different and they're able to quicken their process of decision making and make that shift faster as compared to their peer group. And that is what today's discussion is going to be all about. That what is that you're doing? And obviously we'll touch base of generative AI. We'll talk about, we would like to hear more from you that what do you think about it? What do you think about the next generation of analytics and analytics automation? And how does it help, or have you done it already? Have you taken that journey already? Can you move to the next slide? So, and then I'm sure many of you are CIOs, many of you are CXOs in your, or chief data or digital officers. So these are things, and this is not India, this is global. Obviously, this is based on survey that's being done by us and Intelligent Analytics Institute in Chicago. So, which shows that whenever, where the investments are going. When you're trying to empower your organization with smarter, faster decision making, you're investing in AI, you're investing in automation. Obviously, generative AI is taking a significant space in that. But increasing investment in analytics is 78% is actually making those investments, right? Companies, and we all know that now. Increasing investment in AI, 73%. And if you see where they are prioritizing, and I would like to hear, don't think that every organization is the same level, every industry is the same level, or every country is the same level. There are different maturity level people go through. But these are the priorities that we keep seeing: the higher revenue from AI investment, more income generated when you do more analytics-driven, mature organizations are able to generate income. And we see that even more now in last post-COVID era. 70% of work time could be automated using AI, and that is a fact. If I can just use one word, in Alteryx, we use a component called Auto Insight, which is purely generative AI driven, and it essentially can help you to create your magic document, not just analyze, not just finding the outliers, right? Which business intelligence sometimes doesn't deliver. It creates your dashboard, it provides you business intelligence, but can it also give you a narrative of where it has gone wrong, where you might want to correct? A classic example is when you come up, any financial institution, you come up with a new service or a new offer, for example, right? And it makes a significant success. First year, you have delivered more than what you expected, a business you expect from there. But then suddenly you see second year quarter one is decline. Now, where AI or automations can help is it can find out a narrative where it has maybe one of the region has delivered 200% is why last year, or a couple of regions has delivered 200% for that product or service that you brought to the market, and is the reason why your overall success has happened when you launched that product or service. But the other regions have not. So, but if you know it well in advance, you can correct yourself. And these decisions are not necessarily only has to happen at the executive level, and that is what we are seeing in more developed nations, where decisions are not necessarily always happening at executive level. It's happening at every level now, because when you that's what digital transformation brings in. That's what I would say overall organizational transformation brings in. The last slide. This is how it looks like. I mean, you might want to disagree with because many of you might have reached a level where your maturity, analytics maturity is much higher than this, but we still find it's very experts only. Very like Anand, I was talking to you and I heard some things that you shared. There's still a lot of manual process, even though so much of investment companies are making. Very silos. Analytics is very siloed. Very data scientist driven. You can't ignore data scientists, but then you have very few data scientists, and entire organization relies on those bunch of data scientists, and they're experts. They are expensive. Their availability is also less, and then limited data and very rigid architecture also. But then we are also seeing shift happening. I mean, you're moving into cloud. You're moving into cloud-based data lakes like the Snowflakes and the Databricks and all of these that are coming up, right? You also want to have a hybrid environment where you have on-premises, at the same time, you want to exist with cloud. Now, typically in the financial institution, for example, you would still like to keep things more within your control on premises. Not everything you want to classify stuff, specific set of data you want to keep here within your premises, and some you might still are open to, or you might want to have controls on cloud. Application running on the cloud, but data residing still on premises. So all these hybrid concepts are coming up. And in these environments, there are a lot many errors that also we see because of multiple reasons, and we would like to hear more from you. The last part. So what is the desired shift? And that is what we are seeing most of the successful, like Amazons of the world, or some of the, JPMC, for example, we see that the same thing, that they are shifting analytics approach overall from experts only to all-person self-service, right? Automation driven, so that you can free up all your critical task or analytic task or models that needs brains that can do it, like data science, data engineers who can build that. You're leaving them from the mundane day-to-day analytics requirement, which also required to quicken your decision making. And then end-to-end analytics. Obviously, flexibility of data, and it has to be real time. Because if you have already lost, that's the reason why digital native companies are from day one analytics driven. Because they are the whole concepts of digital native companies is built on that premise, right? So that's the overall theme, that how decision intelligence is going to succeed what we have seen as business intelligence, and what's your thought around it? So over to you, Shweta.
Thank you. I think before we get started, it will be good by some of us, it will be good to maybe have a quick round of introductions. So maybe I'll start with myself. My name is Shweta Singh, and I'm Chief Data Officer at Alteryx Life Insurance. We need to go this way.
So I'm Arukya Ligurius. I'm part of ICICI Bank's Data Science and Analytics group. I oversee a couple of their analytics practices. So one on cards analytics and other on cognitive analytics. So which will include DNA as an experimental.
Okay.
Hi everyone, I'm Akash. I'm from Tata Consumer Products. I lead the data and analytics for TCPM.
Yeah, hi. My name is Krishna. I head data science piece for ICICI Prudential Mutual Fund. Okay, it's the entire customer, distributor, or investment piece is under one.
Hi, I'm on this side and I head the data analytics, AI strategy all for the retail bank of entire bank.
Hello, I'm Gaurav Bansal. I'm
Pritham Biswas, currently head of analytics for Health Insurance.
Great. So now we know each other one unit phase. Thanks, Soumya, for doing the kickoff and setting the perspective for today's discussions. I think what I want to call out is that we don't want this to be really formal amongst all of us. So it's more an interactive chat. Please feel free to share what we've been doing or anything that comes from mind as an input or a feedback for what we want to convey. Let's make it very informal and engaging amongst all of us. So I think picking up from where Soumya just left on the decision intelligence, maybe a quick round of views in terms of your own maturity cycles that you're undergoing. From visualization, which is really more post facto and more reactive, to all of us are used to working upon models and doing several things which is more proactive and a little more, something which I'm trying to do. Where do you think is a point where we are enabling decisions to be made? And maybe some examples of any of you can share as to what according to you is a decision point which is being driven by whatever each one of us might be doing. Maybe let's get started with that first, and then we can move on. Anyone can share what do you think out of all that we do, what is anything in terms of how are we enabling the sales to make a decision with whatever we are doing? How is that impacting the overall, decision science in your organization? How are people leveraging whatever information inputs, model outputs, or intelligence we are sharing? How is the organization taking decisions out of it? And how much have we scaled up or have made it mass application based?
Right.
Good to hear. Anyone?
I can go.
Yeah.
I think when we put up current and the future,
Yeah.
I think future probably could be one more column of where we will go, because I think most organizations would not. I felt the current stage could be about 3-4 years back, where most of them are in that future zone only, maybe at some scale.
True.
Some scale,
Yeah.
maybe in a scale of 1 to 10, maybe somebody is at 4, 5, somebody is at 7, 8. But largely, I think every banking side, at least on the financial side, have gone miles ahead in terms of reaching that decision scenario. As he was rightly saying, maybe certain organizations are in a scale where decision making, data-based decision making. Data means I'm including all the analytical insights and inputs put together. Data-based decision making, certain organizations, it's happening probably at a senior executive level, as he was saying. And some organizations have gone to that extent that every single person in that organization, right from the person standing on a branch, the lowest level is a bank officer typically. And from the bank officer level also is using some insights which is centrally taken and given to him, fed to him. At what level people are, to my knowledge, we are a new bank. We are 5 years, this is the 4-year-old's bank, started from scratch. So sometimes when you start from scratch, a new bank has an advantage also.
True.
Right? Because it's a new bank, I don't carry any legacy issues of dealing. So it was set up, I think, and one of the pillars of our bank, our MD says the pillar or the success of our bank, the USP itself is tech analytics. So we feel pride of that being one of our USP, that why, if somebody says why we are here, in 4 years, why are you in top, we are almost in the top 4 or 5 private banks, in all parameters, right from value, count, P&L and everything. And one of the reason is tech and capability that we have.
Right.
So obviously, I think we feel that we are much ahead in that curve in terms of, and we also feel a pride about it, saying that today you walk into any branch, and we do extensive travel for that. It's a very hard working model. It doesn't happen sitting at central office and designing some model. It's an extensive travel model where you have to reach out to every single place to figure out they're actually using it. And I think it's being used, to be very fair. I think bulk of the decision, I would say, if we look at an individual today, we ourselves as a consumer, for any small thing, to buy a product, we immediately do some reviews check, we use data. To
just do check that whether we are healthy. We wear a watch and keep watching how many steps we have done, and what is that showing in my heartbeat is showing how. So or anything else, right? I mean, data usage, just to go from one place to another, we immediately check Google Map and see the data. So the way data is consumed, and then we make our intuition कि इस route से जाना है कि उधर से जाना है. So something like that, even a bank officer at the ground level today, when he is meeting a client, immediately I think most banks, I am not talking on behalf of only one bank, but most banking side, everybody has come to a stage where immediately 10 things pops up in his screen to help him what to sell, what to decide and how to decide, right? So it's all about how good your model is versus somebody else's, but
Right,
I don't
yeah.
say that people don't have today. I think that green box, what you showed, I think most people are in green box. But how good is your execution engine is where the differentiation comes in.
Yeah. So the green box, as you said very rightly, that's desired. It's not future, because many organizations of your segment, I'm pretty sure possibly if you go through that green box, and this is only a subset of the whole thing. But very right, yeah, absolutely. But I'd still like to ask you, what do you think is still something which a bank like yours, because competition never comes saying, right? They will not give you an alert, right? Or market dynamics will sometimes not give you time to think. So what are the things that, and obviously one of the points that, as I said, that we're living in a world where when we talk about automation, when we talk about AI, when we talk about generative AI, I mean, there are a lot of things that all these new tools or functions, capabilities that these tools or technology bringing in, how they are going to improve. Are they really going to improve anything? Are they really can play a role where whatever you have achieved so far, I mean, as you said, that your even bank officers are able to take a lot of indigenous decision because there is a recommendation engine. Moment some event, based on some event, pops up, okay, you have this options. So where are we heading then? Now, keep your thought. Maybe Shweta might want to ask you other questions, but if there is anybody else who would like to add there. Now, every organization, I'm pretty sure, will be at a different level of maturity in their journey, right? It's never expected that everyone, you guys have an advantage because you started 5 years back, so there are things that you could do which an old bank, even if they want, possibly could not have done it for multiple reasons. It's not that non-availability of technology or fund or anything. There are multiple other reasons. Yeah. Anybody else?
I think the way I have understood that green box, I took it a little differently. So whether it's about we feeding and developing analytics, giving insights to the person who is sitting at the branch or who is at the call center or who is the agent who is going and meeting the customer, that's one aspect. That's, I think, it's a very matured system that everybody has it in the place now. But the way I understood that green box is whether I am giving the capability to that front end person to analyze something on his own, on her own, that should be the green box, that should be the ultimate capability.
Yes.
That the person should be understanding that I have 3 more questions. You gave me something, but I have 3 more questions to pursue this opportunity. Where should I go? So he should have something that he could just simply in a plain, that Gartner coined that word, citizen data scientist. That he should be able to write something. He should be able to get in a plain text. He should be able to write something and get the response back from the enterprise system, not from a ChatGPT kind of an answer. That should be the ultimate where we should be going ahead. That empowering the people, not only from the insights that is coming from the head office, from the central team, but at the way they are also being augmented by their own capabilities that they have at the handheld device which is available to them, and then mixing the two at the time when the customer is in front of them and making the judgment.
So you're saying individual level collective intelligence.
Absolutely.
Machine generated, centrally something things are provided, but can I also use the tools that have been given to me? I use my own data set or thought process or information base available to mix this two, right, to arrive at the third or the fourth answer which possibly is not being provided to me.
Exactly.
Or the question that's not being provided to me from central. Very good point. Yes. Anybody else?
Anyone else who wishes to share?
Yeah, I just want to add, we thought is really good that we want to decentralize decision making, but
That's very complicated.
not gonna work. You can think of this in a startup world where you are tightly connected with each individual. Imagine a workforce of like lakhs of people, and you hire different kind of skill set at a ground level. You don't want decision making to be so decentralized at a ground. That's what my thought is. Probably I might be wrong also. I'm not saying that it's right. But yeah, so the idea of running a data science or analytics team is that you collect those small indicators or leading indicator, and then eventually help decision making at a central level and the execution at a ground level, right? The passing of information from top to down might be challenged, might not be challenged. Those are some of the problems that we need to solve, rather than giving everything to down and then probably it's a point of debate. But anyway, I can
Yeah, if I can add, and I completely kind of agree to what you said, because I think one of the challenges of the so-called democratizing of decision making, I don't think decision making capability is what we're talking about, not to be democratizing. I think it's about how you interpret a particular decision, right? And how do you use and how aligned and how concordant that is to the central thought process of your organization is very, very critical.
Absolutely.
Right? And I think to get that whole balance of, how do you retain the core essence of the organization with the core risk principles or core decision making, or not just risk, core decision making principles, at the same time allow, not allow, empower, your frontmost person to take a call basis of data. I think that's a very that's a very fine balance, and honestly I'm not sure if anybody is able to find that, right? Either it's
no,
too
100%
centralized
agree.
or to
Yeah.
decentralized. I think a way to reach that is that how do you kind of centralize for the lack of any other fancy word, definitions or um, yardsticks or measures, right? How do you centralize that, but how do you decentralize people's ability to take a decision basis that, right? So I think so that when somebody is taking a call, there is no deviation of thought between what I am taking versus or my interpretation of what this tells me.
Right.
I think some of the challenges, and again I'm probably telling a little, I'm deviating on what the the industry is moving towards. I think some of the challenges that I have seen when you centralize or you let people do that, there needs to be enough amount of training to actually have an analytics interpretability or data interpretability or usage of what is given to you. So when you empower somebody, you have to not only empower that person with information, but also the ability to interpret the information. In absence of that, it becomes not a very beneficial tool, but maybe it's like decentralizing too much and people having a lot of discordant thoughts, and where the central core of the organization sometimes might be like destabilized.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think very interesting, both of you, what you just stated. It's not about decision making at the front level. You are essentially trying to empower people to be able to take informed decision faster, right? And we'll come back to generative AI piece a little bit, whether if there is any other question you have.
Yeah, I think what is pertinent to really hear is that all of us, and from all of what we shared, right, we are all in different stages of being on the cleaner side of the slide that we saw, and at different maturity levels. But I think very important points that there are certain levels who may look at the information that is being enabled centrally and be able to interpret and make decisions out of the information that is being shared. However, having said that, put the entire chain right to the last FLS, will he or she would be capable enough to use it, and do organizations really want that much of democratization is something which depends on industries. We may actually, some of the industries may not even want the last mile to take a decision, because then everybody may have written decisions which may be against what we are really wanting to drive. But really picking up from this piece, right, and we are in different industries, right, most of us are from the FSI. When it comes to information being enabled, right, and information being available for the centralized team to work upon, and there are multiple data sources across, which is more pertinent legacy issue with some of the companies which have been there for a while, as against Anand, who has the, the privilege enough to be able to do many things more easily. Is the information really available? And therefore the pace at which we want to deploy any of our decision science work, how is that across with whatever we are all doing. And more importantly, we all have different lines of business within our own companies as well, and quite often the business is so dynamic, and more so in the months like we are in, that we prioritize, what we want to prioritize and drive today could change by weeks, sometimes within days, right? So how are we able to ensure that we have the information availability at least across the data sources that we have? How is it for each of you? And any challenge or any lenience that you think is working well for you or not working well for you when it comes to being able to meet the business dynamics that we all have? So any views, any thoughts, any feedbacks on that would be good to hear.
Maybe I'll just continue with the earlier question a little bit on, I have a slightly different opinion on decentralizing the decisions. That I have spent half of my professional career on the manufacturing sector and then on financial spaces and now into banking. So considering this different domain, what I felt is decentralizing is something will help, but not only in the front level. It has to be at different levels.
True.
So certain, because our business model is still not evolved, that the front line will take all the decisions. That's not how business models are right now. So each level has a specific, you can say a level of responsibility which they have to take for. So when certain information, or let's say the front level has to take a certain decision, the one thing which I have seen across different industry is when you want to escalate from one level to another level. Let's say I am not capable of taking a certain decision, or it's not within my per se, then what should I do, or how should that move to the next level, so that, and even when it moves, how fast this can be moved. Because there are certain decisions we have to take faster, else we lose our end customers. So that's the split-second decisions we have to make. So there, it has to be decentralized, but at different, I would say, hierarchical levels of where your responsibility is, and this has to be exactly in sync with how your overall business model is. So that is one way of seeing how decentralization can help. In fact, in manufacturing side, multiple attempts were made from different companies which I have worked with, from an solution provider perspective as well as from a customer perspective as well. So it worked in multiple levels. I would say, especially the time to make those decisions, especially at different levels, not only at the front but even at the top level, was quite faster. So that is something significant changes. Personally, I have noticed while working on those kind of projects, you can say. But from a data perspective, to be very honest, everyone has enough amount of data. So now we are in an age that there is no, we cannot say there is limitations for data, but the question now is, do we have enough good data? That is one question everyone of us has to see, because the data we might have most times might be screwed up in some way or the other and highly biased. So that is for sure. So that is where problem comes in. How to choose? We have enough. If everyone has enough amount of, you can say, databases and their architecture around how to store, use, personal, and depending on the regulations, each industry, let's say, especially banking being a regulated industry, there are stringent data policies. So you will have to be very careful before even taking one step, because when you take one step ahead, the regulators might maybe push you down 3 or 4 steps back. So that is where the challenge comes in, on taking or being very careful about making those decisions. But when you say databases, or like when you say availability of data, the first thing is about what is the problem you want to solve as, let's say, an organization, or what is the pain point right now you have, and then go for, do we have enough data with respect to this context, and then try to pick up what is available with you. Rather than, I have seen, I've tried both approaches. So you go with data and find something from the data. That is something which normally comes from top down. We have lots of data, find something what we can do from the data. Normally it never works out. Okay, you will only end up seeing, I would say, a laundry list of things which might not give you an immediate business result, or might be even not worth spending the time with. Here actually, it always starts with the purpose. You need to know what is the problem you want to solve. Even within banking or any industry as well, you will have multiple problems across the company in everyday and at different levels as well. So picking up one and then going back and seeing that, okay, do I have the right amount of data to solve it? So is it good enough to go ahead and make a decision? And not always when you say decision making platforms and systems as well, it doesn't mean that always models or algorithms or maybe even machine learning can help you. There are areas where simple analysis will help you make a fine decision as well. And in majority cases, at least for me, in my experience, more than 85% of decisions can be made with simple data analysis. A simple tool can even help you make those decisions. You necessarily don't need a fancy, maybe AI kind of a stuff doing that for you. Because that is what actually the front line wants. Because you cannot explain what the AI engine does. It's kind of a black box, though there are certain concepts, but still we have not reached to a level that is completely transparent. Or we have not level, means that the maturity level is not there. That's where this problem comes in. So if you look at the other way around, what is the problem, purpose, and then go for finding if you have enough data to solve the problem or not. I think that in most cases, for me at least, it has helped.
Okay, great.
Absolutely. Analytics is a tool to reach the, your goal, right? I think understanding the problem statement is actually 60% of the challenge, right? I think most often than not, people come to with a solution, right? I want this, but it's not what are you trying to solve for. I mean, probably what you're wanting will not even solve your problem. Right?
True, yeah.
And I think being able to actually figure out the problem statement is the best beginning. And a lot of time what happens really is, and I always say, Monday is what runs a bank, right? I mean, one day your numbers don't come, 5 minutes after the CEO is going to call you, where's the information? Your model is deployed, 5 days later, nobody's really bothered about it. I mean, of course, people are bothered, right? But your Monday morning, your booking volumes, I mean, try 31st March, your booking volumes 15 minutes later. The world has crashed around you.
But how do you ensure that then?
Of course, I think, and before I answer that, I think I always tell my team that if people can't trust your numbers, you do not have the right for them to, ask them to trust your predictive capability. Right? So I think the first and foremost, making people believe in the accuracy of the information that you provide is very, very critical, right? I think if somebody cannot believe the business numbers, why should you say, 10 years down, just reject this guy based on what you have predicted. So I think that is very, very, mundane, basic analysis. If you don't get that right, modeling doesn't help. But one of the things, in terms of when you talked about problem statement, I completely agree. I think it's very important to understand what you're trying to find out. And maybe a basic, just frequency table solves for that. And the other thing that, one needs to probably understand is that a lot of the problem that we try to solve, maybe not for today, maybe for tomorrow. But if I don't start my readiness today, when the time comes, I'll not be able to answer for tomorrow. For an example, I think we started in COVID, we started with a secure capital, started with secured product, right? Home loans, nobody even bothers about collections going bonkers in the first couple of years, right? But if we did not build up, collections analytics capability, right? So when we launched our unsecured business, we would not be in a state to kind of take it up, right? And that doesn't happen overnight. So I think somewhere that understanding that, your data, your information, your ability to give an answer is not just for today, but for tomorrow. And if you do not act on it now, when the time comes, you already missed the bus, right? So some of the investments that organizations do in terms of data, in terms of, model implementation, in terms of, information dissemination, the organization needs to have the trust in you and believe. It's because it will not generate any benefit for the next couple of years, right? I mean, honestly, we've invested in Snowflake, right after 6 months of our business. Like nobody does that in my organization. I mean, there is absolutely no reason as to why I couldn't have done a pivot table for the first 3 months of loans, right? But we could just scale up, and the zero touch reporting is because we invested on that. So I think that commitment from the senior management is very, very critical. And I think us having that line of sight that we are not actually building for today, we're building for future. So the problem that we solve today, yes, and the problem that can come tomorrow has to be thought about now, else we are pretty late in the game.
So just building on that point, right, to what just Rokia mentioned, what you just called out. Yes, of course, there has to be an objective, there has to be a problem statement that we are wanting to solve so that we have an impact on problem statement. And depending on which industry we all are part of, is from the time of defining the problem statement, being able to develop a solution that, whichever way it would be, and whichever part of the technique we will be using, is there a huge turnaround time that we face, and is that something which is an expectation for us to cut it short? Is that something which we experience? Is that a problem statement for us as people who are reading the data initiative saying we take X weeks or X days, and is that something we are seeing as a problem to solve for? Is that something we want to, or we are looking forward to a solution for easing our own lives, because the expectations are also like that, and expectations change by week, so.
Yeah, so the way I operate is that I always tell my team that I don't need to build Taj Mahal in the first day. It's based in phase-wise, because sometimes happens is that if it takes 3 months, maybe problem is not doing valid after 3 months. Correct. So let's have even if my solution is it's 70% accurate, let's deploy that and just business start using it. Right. And we'll have learning, and then we'll course correct it, make it to 70, 75, 80, and 90.
Correct. But to build that 70%, do you take time, or is that meeting the organization's expectations?
So sometimes, most of the time, it is. It's not that I have to build a complex machine learning algorithm and then have to reach some part of accuracy. Small solution, sometimes if you pass this some particular data to this end guys, that's good enough. Let's start with that, and then in the process we'll have learning and we'll build up our own solution.
But sorry, Shweta, if I may ask you, I think there is one point I just want to clarify. When we talk about decision by individual, I'm not taking on endpoints. No organization, even global best organization, also will not be empowering every endpoint to take decision. Organization cannot do that. But then in every business, you have multiple business units, and there are a set of people who have been given that authority to take those decisions. So when we talk about democratization, even 25% of your knowledge worker in an organization of 10,000, even like 2,500 are capable of that. And as Payal, you raised it, so obviously literacy is important there, data literacy, are they able to interpret it? But the bigger question is, when we talk about analytics as a whole, while we talk about whether it is descriptive, diagnostic, which most of the visualization tools does very well, and it's not today, they've been doing it for quite some time, and over a period of time, it has matured, and all of you have implemented. I know, everyone in this room, either using Tableau or Power BI or something else, which delivers that, and they deliver that pretty well. However, when you want, like you raised the point, you started, when you started the capital, business, for example, and you had to think through that, what can happen, what are the risks that you'd like to eliminate, right? And then, Anand, for example, 5 years back, they were able to take those decisions, technology was available, but then most technology only is an enabler. You are building your business process and structures in place to ensure that you're able to mitigate risk, you're able to deliver what you want to deliver to your business, right? So that they can take those decisions. But where we stand now at this point of time, what we keep seeing, and I would like to hear from all of you is, so when you're building something like that, your analytics journey starts with your data pipelining, your data cleansing, your massaging your data, so all the ETL, ELT part, all that, and then you create formulas, then you build, even it's the simplest model that you're building, and then you're handing it over through the visualization to make it available, people are using it, they're consuming it. But if I ask you that you have to take a decision where I'm not seeing the end user, let's not make that mistake that every end user is actually the decision maker. They're not. No organization will give that. But then you have every business functions will have a bunch of people, like if you take audit, for example, if there are 30 guys in the audit team, there are 15 of them who are, and most of the auditors are chartered accountant or that variant, right? So, and they don't understand their audit, but they don't understand technology. They don't know how to bring data. They don't know how do I cleanse my data? How do I massage my data? Now you rely on somebody else, right? So do you see that as a challenge sometime in an organization, that if I have to, do I have 10 days to do this, or can I do it in 10 minutes? I mean, that is automation. So do you see that as a challenge?
So, sometimes it's just a very fine balance. It's not a one size fits all, because for some department, for some business heads, and even their one downs, they are very familiar with the numbers. They know how to read numbers. For them, it is easier. But if the vertical is kind of struggling to get even understand that simple graph, then probably a challenge for them to have that adoption at a very fast pace.
No, you're talking about, again, when you have already delivered. I'm saying prior to that, because your analytics starts with your data pipelining, all this, massaging, cleansing, enriching, building your model, and then you're delivering. And there are people who are smart enough in a department who will get it quickly. Yeah. There are people who will take 3 months, 6 months, years to get it, right? That's a different story altogether, right? So that is your, level of, your ability to quickly understand a chart, a table, or a graph. I'm not getting there. That, in fact, we are maturing much faster, to be very honest. More people are able to understand that, because we are exposed to that every day. I mean, when I see my Swiggy, I've ordered something so it's like technically we are all getting more tuned. Even an illiterate person also being able to do that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about prior to that, what most of the time business doesn't get, that there is many things that goes on. You have data residing in data lake. You have multiple types of sources of data. And then audit once from the same source, expecting us, a type of data, a class of data, and some of these data are only meant for them. It cannot go to somebody else. Now, somebody at the back end massaging, creating, building that. Do you ever feel that there is a need of, I'm not saying everything again, don't make that mistake that I'm trying to say that everything has to be automated, everything has to be like that. But don't you feel sometimes that if that process can be given to a couple of guys in the organization with kind of who have expertise and understanding, to be able to bring and build that themselves? I'm not talking about the dashboard. Dashboard is not data analytics. We all know it, right? So do you see that as a challenge?
Yes and no, because I think people should be empowered to look at things in the way they want to do it, and you cannot centralize everything. At some point of time, the organization reaches a critical mass where it has to be decentralized. So definitely yes, but with caution. Like I said, I think it's very data. I mean, of course we touched on it. Data literacy, interpretability, and centralization of interpretation has to be there, before you do that. And I keep going back at this place because, while we've, I think, and I'm sure we've done that all in our organizations, we've all created those capabilities where we've handed over, some of those basic analytics, some of these capabilities to the thing. What it should not come back, becoming like a avalanche of this is not matching, you questioning, So I think there's a lot of, that is why there's a little apprehension where, I think where you feel that you said decentralized it, you're okay, everything is working fine. And, but, there is an interpreting issue, there is a, issue of how the information is kind of been, sent out, perceived, right? Interpreted, debated about, and then again, the entire central organization is coming together to clean it up. So I think those events have to be avoided. And there needs to be kind of enough infrastructure, enough framework, enough guardrails to ensure those things don't happen. Given that, I think people should have access to information without basic analytics teams becoming bottlenecks for that, because you will also be burning out your teams, right? I think one analytics and BI team cannot become bottlenecks for basic information, and that has to be democratized. But there has to be enough guardrails so that it doesn't go into a direction, and I keep harping on it because I've seen it go into in all organizations, just not here. We've seen it in organizations which we've been practicing analytics for 50 years, big MNC banks, and organizations with just fintechs that started, right? So I think that is very important. While you want to reduce the time to analytics, the interpretation of analytics should not be diluted.
Yeah, I agree. Any other?
So I think we are always late, honestly speaking. If you talk
Yeah.
to the business folks, the time when they give the requirement, the analysis was required yesterday. They are giving you the requirement today, but it was the answer was required yesterday. So we are always already even start late.
So this is I've been 30 years in IT industry, and I've met a number of CIOs or CXOs and business. This is a perpetual problem.
Exactly.
Right? Where
Never
business
ever
says
thought.
that I needed it yesterday. Oh, you've given it, and IT, data engineers, data scientists, everybody is working on it. I'm not saying only for the analytics piece; it's also for other applications as well. But I was expecting it to come yesterday. It is good, but it's still not as good as I was expecting.
Looking for.
So that problem will never go.
Never.
That's a human problem,
Exactly.
right? So keep that aside. Yes, Shweta.
So just building on this particular point, right, speak to market and the expectation, which is always, as Gaurav just said, as of yesterday. Let me put on a different perspective, right? We all have our teams. We have all our data scientists of different levels of maturity. While India as a country has enough and more brain power that exists, and you can always find resources who are lesser year experience to get onboarded faster, but I think attrition is there. It's pretty rampant across whichever industry you belong to, and it's not as easy to get a reasonably seasoned person, to come and start working with you. In fact, I'm looking for some very senior guys, and I haven't been able to find for the last 2.5 months. But the point is that, and the recent, advent of what ChatGPT has been able to utilize, at least from the marketing side of the predictive work that you do, do we see that newer forms of technology and techniques is helping us manage the expectations with the team size that may not be as aspiring and not as easy to get, leave us with the point that they are also pretty expensive to get. Do we think that this is easing our work, the new technologies, the new techniques, which means lesser manpower to operate it and still gives reasonable inputs? And any examples that you may have, do you think this is working in our favor, the upcoming technologies? Which
Very good
therefore helps
question.
us manage the expectations, which is the things which we may have and it's not easy to get. That's really the point to ask.
No, I think to ask me a little different view. Your work is increasing with the kind of new work, new
Yeah.
technology.
So whatever automation
And,
you do, it's like, okay, you have more things to do now.
I can tell you, probably this for the same work, we could have hired many people. Maybe 10 years back for the same type of work, we were hiring many people of a different, little lower skill set. Today, you don't need it because everything you are able to take. Actually, in the previous question also, I had a different opinion because I personally feel that today we are able to deliver more, much faster than even business expects. So if business comes in the morning and they want to look at something as a whatever, every organization has a different name. I think breakfast MIS they call it, and a lot of people call it different name. But largely every morning, right? First thing in the morning you want to see your how do you perform, right? She was saying that it was March. Every day they want to see in the morning. I think today capability exists that forget morning, he would have not waken up and you are able to show him that.
Yeah.
So I think requirement wise we are much ahead of what probably did not exist. Few years back the intent was there, but we did not have that tool or that technology to deliver them. Intent was तब भी वही intent हर आदमी का था कि they are asking as of yesterday, but we also intended to give as of yesterday. We had some constraints. Today that constraint is over. You can imagine technology it is.
Point of that, is that burning the team?
It's not. What is still burning, team is still burning, but because of the
Something
plethora
else.
of requests.
Yeah.
Because you've delivered something, and there are a lot of things that there's no technology dependent. It's everything has been automated, it reaches people. But because you've done that for probably one vertical, the other vertical will start telling me, even ye mera kaam kar do. And as you were saying in the audit point of view or something, it's not even audit. There is audit, there is a AML department, there is a KYC department, there is an ops unit. I mean, you can't think of a unit that's not consuming you.
True.
Everybody feels that that is very fantastic. I've heard about it. Why don't you do it for me?
But how about that department is able to do it themselves as long as you're able to ring fence the data, you give them access the way you want, and they're able to do it themselves
So
without coming to you.
No, I'll put it this way. There are areas, of course, you're not replacing, that unit has a core capability. So for example, like an audit unit or an AML unit, that has a particular capability. For him, so if he has to, for just giving like one example of an AML unit, nothing to do with analytics probably. 5 years back I would have said AML doesn't do analytics. But for them there is a key core capability. Every day they're monitoring something, they're supposed to look at it. They have a list on which they have to look at and then say that yes, this is a right thing and remaining are false positive. So to do that kind of activity also today, if you can help them with something which eases their work, they are ready to come to you.
Yes.
They're saying that daily the number of alerts they are getting is too much. Right? So if you can help them by eliminating some false positive, more than happy. Right? So new use cases which you could not have thought earlier.
Right.
Right? It all lands on you and you are able to automate and deliver and as customized as possible.
And to add to Anand's point, I think another aspect is that to a certain extent, even if you democratize these things and even if certain functions would have the capability, I think on certain aspects, it will always be the expectation of the central data team, AI team or the analytics team to give that output. Because then it's more like this is certified by them. So it's therefore fine. Whether it is for reporting, whether it's regulatory, whether it's an output to be action. A lot of time it is like, you know how the KPIs
Also her point, I think it also adds to her point because see also centrally if there is somebody who is delivering to various units, that accuracy and the trust and same number being quoted everywhere will remain. If you, the moment you let them do themselves, there will be another number coming. This department was saying something, you are saying something. All that will not be there if everywhere the same thing goes, right?
Sure. And I think another aspect is because if you enable a lot of information, then different people will have different definitions. And no matter how much you standardize, each one will have their own definitions of defining a particular output, and the numbers will never tally. And the central team, and I'm obviously we all have experience, will forever be doing recon. It's part of our lives, and that's something which for part of it therefore may not be decentralized.
I agree absolutely. But I'll still would like to ask Anand this question again. While what you said is absolutely right, but what I was trying to extract a little more from you is, so we're talking about automation, we're talking about generative AI, large language models, all of that is a lot of things possible, art of possibilities are plenty. But I'm saying that without me asking, without compromising on the single version of truth, I'm not decentralizing everything, but I'm empowering, right, where I'm not contributing to that empowerment every time. So there are few tasks, as Shweta said, which you cannot decentralize. There are few things you have to control for multiple reasons. You guys are banks. Regulatory reason is one of the first thing. I mean, the ombudsman will come and catch your throat like next day, right? So forget that. I'm saying, but there are many other where you're not, I'm asking, I don't have an answer to be very honest. If you are without compromising on the single version of truth, but you are empowering certain stuff where you are not even intervening, neither you are building something, neither you are giving them, creating an algorithm or creating a model for them, don't you think that automation should come to a level where your business units, whether it is audit or whatever, your business units core team who have that analytics bend of mind or knowledge and experience, because every organization will have in a particular division, out of 20 people, 3 guys will be far above compared to the balance 15, 17, whatever you call it. So if you're able to give them that, which takes away load from you, because as you said that when I give this to department X, department Y, 1 month down the line will come and ask. But if you're able to empower department Y and X and Z and everybody else, that you do the heavy lifting for all complex tasks that you do. You do the compliance stuff. You do ensure that there is a single version of truth. There's no data breach happening. You ensuring governance, scalability, all of that. But the regular day-to-day analytics is run, manage, build, create, automated, by those three guys in that department. And I give you a classic example of one of our customer. This is a bunch of auditors without zero help from any IT. And one of the classic example that when I joined this company, I joined 15 months back, this company, and he was presenting, and I said, who helped you build this? Who helped you build this pipeline? He said, nobody. He said, you guys are IT? I said, no, we have no skills of knowledge of IT, but we know what we are looking for, and we build it ourselves without zero help. Literally, he claimed in front of 200 people, and there are many IT CIOs, they said, without any help from IT. Now, I would say that is automation. So now, can you do it everywhere? No, you can't. But then there are a bunch of people. So when we talk about democratization of analytics, it does not necessarily if you have 10,000 people, knowledge worker, all 10,000 will be like all self-service. Not possible. You can provide them and they can consume certain things, right? But there still can be around 1,500, 2,000 people who has that capability. Are we exploiting that? Are we exposing them to those transformation journey? And that is the question I want to ask all of you. So where do we stand? Now comes the next thing, that is, we're talking so much of AI, we're talking so much of generative AI, we're talking of so much of automation. Many of you have, and technically speaking, Indian banks has actually leapfrogged when it comes to, and we all know that because we all bank with you guys. I mean, and so we know the amount of automation, amount of service delivery levels improvement that has happened in the last several years, and they're quick, fast. I know it, but what is that? All of you in your own institution, what do you think is still, where is the scope? What is lacking? What is that you still feel is the biggest bottleneck for you to go to the next level, right? Anybody?
See, I think I have a little different view on the new technologies which are coming. So if you look at the timeline, earlier data collation, or what we call a CDP and all that. Someone used to type data and then he used to get. Now it is not required. It's like it's automatically typed. Then there was a people who used to do Excel stuff, doing pivot and all. Technology came, that changed. People who used to do Excel are not relevant anymore, right? Only doing Excel. Then came a simple MIS automation kind of stuff, which is also, I think, has been taken over, at least in the BFSI industry. I can tell you, like, almost every organization is there in some or other level. I think this week only I was reading this article in Ken, which was saying data scientists are dead, and it was a very bold claim to make, and it's a very beautiful data-oriented, detailed article, which was saying this, that because wherever earlier we used to have a defined state which was taken by automation, but now if steps are not even defined, LLM with evolved capabilities will take over that part. It is a distant future, probably. When I say distant, it may not be distant, it might be 4 months down the line. Probably OpenAI comes up with GPT-5 and you see a different kind of capability in the market. So with the evolving world, what is really required is the kind of attitude that we need to have towards technology or towards the work that we are doing, is to have that adaptation so be ready to get adapted at any moment, right? It's not that inflection point might be 1 month down the line or one year down the line. So organizations who are operating in this area, wherein at least what used to people say that you are a data analyst, you are a safe zone, right? All MIS people, call center guys will be at a threat of automation. That's not true anymore. You are a data scientist, you are creating something which is actually a threat to yourself. So that's how it's going to evolve.
Now you're scaring all of us.
And that threat is really important to evolve from here on. Like, if you do not adapt to new changes which are happening, like I'm sure you guys might have read also Devin, right? Which cognitive AI release.
Right, yeah.
And the demo which has been shown for that product is fantabulous. Someone who has seen the demo can actually relate to it. Like, we don't need software engineer, and now they are actually giving subscription for Devin. Instead of hiring Infosys engineer, I can hire cognitive AI Devin for say 8 hours. And it's like cloud kind of billing that is going to happen. So see, the world is changing fast. And if you're only talking about automation and all that, it seems little vintage now. It's not that. Like you've got to think about little more now. So that's my 2 words on that.
Yeah, I mean, very good point actually. Yeah, so I mean that it also brings worries on a different, when we think of countries like India. But coming back to the question I put, so with all that you guys have done, and I'm sure you still have a forward-looking strategy for your data, for your data strategy, your analytics strategy, and so given the current environment, obviously, I will still use the word automation. I'll still use AI. I'll still use generative AI. At least generative AI is still at a starting point, definitely. Like when we talked a lot about ChatGPT last year before. But then now if you see the capability of generative AI today, which is essentially again coming out of all the tools and technology that it is building, and obsolescence are happening much faster in technology than we ever could think, even a year back. So given all of that, what is most impressing subject that comes to your mind for your business in terms of automation, generative AI, and obviously AI, and what is blocking it? What is that you still think that these are the things that we need to do, but these are the areas where we still have room for development, growth, improvement, but these are the bottlenecks. This is what is impacting our overall organizational data and analytics strategy. Any thoughts?
Looking, I think, to me, if you ask data, the way we are looking at that data, we already seeing data as an absolutely sales channel. So today probably we are at a 10% of overall sales that the bank does, and we looking data to be like the biggest sales channel. Right? So it's a sales channel. We also looking at, you spoke about self-service to a certain user side. We are looking self-service to the end customer himself. Like today, if you go to any new age company or a platform, like Grow, I would say, for example, is a new age app, right, which sells end-to-end in mutual funds. But you can do everything there. You can see your portfolio as a customer. End customer can see everything there. He can slice and dice his own data, which is a self-service, and he can buy. He can do everything and then buy, right? So something like that. So today people are thinking that way, that not even serving your own internal departments, but serving the end customer with data to play around. So we looking that way in a most advanced technology, that where you self-service the customer himself through and we're doing to some extent. We're not reached to that level, but yes, we're doing to a large extent today. The moment you do a transaction, you can go into an app and do all kinds of slice and dice on a real-time basis on your own portfolio. In fact, with account aggregator coming, I think the whole gamut of banking will change, with the way people can slice and dice and look as a customer, end customer can do. So the way we are building is like data will be the service channel, data will be the sales channel, and it should be the biggest sales channel. Probably after 5 years, data head will be the biggest sales guy in your unit. Right? So we are looking at very advanced in a way that things may look very different. I mean, and
so 5 years
as of now, today also I am seeing a lot of different, maybe looking at 10 years down before. 10 years before, probably data guy was not even involved in any decision making. He was not even called. He's kind of a COE sitting in one place, not even sitting in the head office, so he had absolutely no clue. Today, even the organization structures have changed. Data guy probably is reporting to somebody who is reporting to the CEO. Data guy is seen part of lot of the most important strategic meeting.
Yeah,
He's
they're becoming
right?
the
So
most
things
important.
have changed.
Yeah.
Lot of organizations, data guy carry a sales target. He has his own P&L. He carries a P&L target. You would not heard about this probably 10 years back, right? He was more like an MIS guy. So I think 2-3 years down the line, data guy will be the biggest business contributor.
So why 2-3 years? I mean, like what you said, for
I
example.
think maturity of the industry point of view. I'm not talking.
But is there anything else that is blocking that, or which is coming as, which essentially impacting the growth?
At least on the BFSI side,
Yeah.
see, I don't want to name companies, but there are already companies which are 100% on the data side and doing sales. 90% of the sales coming through data. There are companies already like that, but these are new age companies. But traditionally in India, if you see, the banking space and the insurance space both are brick and mortar. Now, I cannot say the brick and mortar suddenly in a matter of 1 year, 2 years they'll all become absolutely 100% to this part of it, because India itself needs both. As a consumer behavior itself, they need both. But we've already come to a stage where, as a consumer, today a consumer is so much into mobile for every other thing. So he doesn't compare a bank with a bank. He no longer compares, this bank app with another bank app, because he is so used to any other social media or any other e-tailer app. He compares a bank's app with that.
Exactly.
He wants that level of ease and comfort, right? So there are organizations like Cred, which is not a bank, has suddenly become like, every ad you can see in TV is about Cred. It's not a bank, right? So I think things are changing. And
I mean, if I blend what you just said 5 years down the line and what Krishna said, I mean, I'm just wondering whether, forget the brick and mortar part, whether anybody will be required to serve. It will be all done autonomously by machines. May not be, but good thought. So if you have any other questions?
I think a good point to ponder upon would be that while we have what Krishna just said, right, and we all aspire to drive businesses, we still have certain risks and certain mitigations we need to plan when it comes to things like a ChatGPT or a Gen AI, right? It is not something which you will absorb fully and just go full hog into it. There are a few ifs and buts that we all have in our businesses that you will not go completely into it. So what are some of those challenges that we think that we have? Connected to it is also, we all have our tools, and how do we ensure, right? So there will always be a human aspect to do, right? No matter how smart the technology becomes, right? There are certain errors, and we will say the errors, there are certain biases which will come by default with the data that you have feed in. There are biases that we need to remove, and there are biases which we want to introduce actually, right? Especially when it comes to the risk side of it. We want to introduce biases into it. So how do we manage that, both these aspects of, let's say, a Gen AI and the applicability and how and where all it can go, and really one complaint and we are sort of finished on what we just did in our project. So how do we manage these kind of technologies being absorbed and deployed, and how do you manage these biases and anything that we do? It's good to hear some of these challenges that we do in our day-to-day lives.
I think it's a very plausible risk. We say with this entire need for time to analytics really coming down, right? And there being so much of availability of a low code, no code, or things getting boxed, right? I think sometimes the delivery of an output happens without there being a proper thought process to the process, right? Now, what that can happen, while it increases our time to decreases the time to analytic and our ability to support the business at a much larger scale, right? It also somewhere, I think the thought process of whether a business nuance needs to, that whole human intervention sometimes goes missing, right? So while if I'm very much just bothered about what the model output is, and which is driven just by basic algorithm, and I'm not able to marry with the business nuance, it becomes an academic exercise, right? So I think if the criticality of being able to marry business nuance with the core of automation or changing algorithmic processes, your more advanced models, I think all of it has to get married with business nuance. So whether you're working on that, automation, whether you are reading that information through automation, whether you are a user of that model, whatever it is, your ability to understand whether that makes sense from a business perspective is very, very critical. If you, I mean, you cannot be a great analyst if you do not understand the business. Your statistics, your engineering, your ability to understand data will never get fully utilized if you are not able to, add in that value. I think that's something, we need to kind of keep incorporating in the team where, fast delivery, moving from one to another, boxing thing has happened, right? So I think that's a challenge. But said that, I would again question myself, saying that things can get boxed, which does not require a lot of human intervention. That needs to be, I think to large extent, almost everybody's democratized analytics, right? We're far away from, we've moved from data democratization, we've moved to analytics democratization. I think every organization has democratized analytics, every organization has been using, data to kind of, build their businesses, right? But, how do you marry the actual real problems on the ground with your, data capability, data science capability, your technology capability? I think that sort of needs to be kept in mind.
Sure. Maybe one quick last question would be that we obviously have impacts that we measure, track, and we are all measured on that. When it comes to being able to quantify the values that we've brought into the organization, is that part automated for us, or is it still something we do from project to project and then we sort of estimate and then put it in our PowerPoints? So is the tracking mechanism or the value assessment of whatever these models are doing, is that automated for all of us, and how is it? I mean, it's not for us, let me answer, for us to begin with, but is that something which we think is also we need to work upon as we move forward?
In mine, absolutely, we are a sales channel. So we, as any other business channel in the organization, we carry sales targets, revenue targets, P&L. We have our own P&L, and everything, right up to the T and a penny is attributed, measured. Absolutely.
So what to ask is that part automated? So
absolutely automated. Right? Absolutely. So every sales, it's like sales, right? Today sales, and if in a bank, bank officer opens an account, his code is captured and he's paid incentive. So same way, if the account is opened through you,
correct. That's
because of your effort, our code is captured and we get incentive. So it's as simple as that. So end to end, every activity that we contribute, see, not necessarily when you are in analytics, you do all kind of jobs.
Yeah.
There are jobs that has nothing to do with sales. It's pure dashboarding job. There are operational jobs, there are other jobs, but to answer your question, if as a sales vertical, whatever that part of job, so whatever we do as a sales vertical, everything is, system tagged itself. There is no, because it's audited. At the end of the day, you paid incentive on what you contributed, so it's absolutely measured and tracked.
How is it for you, Krishna?
So in my case, see, frankly speaking, if you look at from the organization perspective, a typical organization will have around 7 or 8 machine learning models. Right? If someone is doing more than that, it's like duplication of models across department. These 7 8 models, when someone builds those models and integrate with whatever the BI system that they have in the beginning, with the thought process of how end-to-end execution will happen. If the thought process of vision is there by building that model, then the further challenges can be avoided. If the only objective of arriving at a probability, then there's a problem itself. Probability is just a starting step. After all your data crunching, then eventually model selection and the process. Once the probability selection happens, how to decide operation? I don't know. Each of us might be operating in different manner, but for at least the area that we are operating, then it comes to a BI tool where automatically integrating transactions and so it's like, for example, when you select particular customers or particular initiative, whether the input metrics are rightly aligned and then output metric is rightly aligned is something which is very important. Fortunately, when we do all design the process, we make sure that the entire life cycle of this data selection to the execution of the data is taken care of in the thought while designing the system, and it solves for most of the cases. There are some use cases in the past where we had learned harder way, but yeah, that's how it has been evolved so far.
Okay. Akash, and maybe we'll just go around the table. Akash, how is it for you, measurement of the impact?
So I think it's reached a stage where I think the organization understands that this is required, right? So I think it almost become like a critical function, right? Nobody comes and asks, okay, what is the ROI of finance function? What is the ROI of HR function, right? So I think that's where it has reached, where everyone knows it has to be done. It's more about measuring, is it the best model that we have, or is it the best solution that we have? Not so much about attributing exactly how much value we're getting from that.
Okay, so that's not expected, you're saying currently from here. Okay.
Right.
Okay, what about you?
From a daily operations perspective, so the integration between your CRM and ERP systems, so that is something solid across multiple industries. So that's why I put it in two fronts. When it comes to operations, that is something which is automated, which I have seen in both in manufacturing as well as in packing. So it is the same case. But when it comes to you want to make a strategic decision, or when you want to evolve, or when you are actually going into some kind of a transformation, want to change your business model, for that you are doing certain projects which involves data. That is where this problem of automation is not available, at least as of today, because you don't have the flexibility of slicing and dicing. Just on a lighter note, though we use so many models, the end user, which is, let's say, the business user, from a data science team perspective, and talking about, always likes Excel spreadsheet. No matter what you use, everyone likes Excel spreadsheet. Whether they accept it or not, they like it. And that is one tool which has survived all the transformations. The one reason is...
So to be very honest, you made a point. Honestly speaking, there will be one organization we are looking at right now. They're literally saying that we can say whatever, and this is a $24 billion Indian corporate I'm talking about. They're saying if the day we will have no Excel in the organization, I'll say we are actually automated. So otherwise we might claim, and this coming from the CEO of that organization, a very visionary CEO, the day will, now we all know the best analytics tool ever being built is Excel. We all love Excel, right? I mean, so we challenge some of them and say that how will you eliminate that? But companies that have actually, there are few organizations globally, I'll not say very many, who have actually done it, right? And it's not easy because we love to, department will love to keep their data in Excel. They want to, close to them and slice and dice. Even if you put it in a, if you say, okay, for security reason, whatever, you still put it in a server so that they can't fiddle around with it, but it's still there, right? So your departmental automation, how do you manage is also a question you guys all have to think. And if you're not able to eliminate tomorrow Excel, so a lot of your data, which is not with you, is actually lying in the department and sometimes in individual desktop. And it's human. We feel that when I'm owning the data, I'm powerful. The day I give this data out to somebody, my power is gone. Now, it has nothing to do with it. It's a human psychology, and we all know it. Every company that has done the best level of automation, even you'll be surprised, some of the Ola owner, Bhavish is a good friend of mine. We stay in the same complex, actually. I live in Bangalore. And, he's very bright guy, right? But he said, Shomo, you'll be surprised with we started digital native. Everything is digital native. But still, you walk in and you'll find every desktop running Excel. And I don't know how do I remove it. He doesn't use Excel, right? So I said, that's a tough task. But the question then comes up is, can you then bring some process where you are empowering these guys, not all of them, but some of them, that you can still bring your Excel data, and I have given you something blended to come up and arrive with certain insight, which essentially help you to quicken the process of some decision. I'm not saying endpoints. You don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying endpoints, but those are the things that you guys also have to think through, and companies are thinking those in these directions already. I mean, you'll not be surprised 3 years down the line, Microsoft might say, I have this product, Excel is gone. You want to buy Excel? $5,000 per license, because I'm going to withdraw support. And and all these technology companies have done it, because they see certain things are not in our hands. Certain things are in the hands of technology. Because said Bill Gates long back, 20 years back, once said that I'm technology. I decide what business user will be using. I will dictate that. Now it was an arrogant statement 25 years back, but eventually he made that happen, right? He said they don't know what they want. I'm going to tell them what they want. And they will use it. Mark my word. And eventually made that happen literally. And it was like people said, "Oh, we will not even touch you, man." Even US, whatever you bring in. But there was no options. The other thing that I want to conclude with is, and which we can even have, all of you are getting late, I'm sure. We have cocktail dinner after this. Just think through, we can have discussion over dinner, is with all that you guys have done, especially, and I keep telling all my guys and even to my management that one of the things that I see at least in the banking finance sector, especially banks, I would say, has leapfrog when it comes to automation, technology, and stuff like that. But I'm pretty sure in your data strategy, there are certain things that you might be having bottlenecks. Think, what are those bottlenecks, right? And we can. I do a little bit of selling of Alteryx now, with your permission, Shwet. So what we do essentially is bridge that gap. We don't compete, with visualizations. And I was country head of Click for 5 years, so I was with Teradata after that. So I've seen all of this, but visualization is an end product now. It's a consumer product, and everybody needs it. But what is more important is, if my board wants the CEO or the CFO to present something tomorrow, and something so urgent which has to go to ministry, and I don't have time to come to Anand or to Payal or to Pritam or to Sweta, I have to do it myself, right? Can I do it? And I will send it tomorrow. Now, I don't have time for 5 days. I know 5 days, I'll come to Anand, it'll be done. So think those are the things that are coming up. When we think of automation, see, at the end of the day, I would say AI is more augmented intelligence than artificial intelligence, because when you are not able to bring people and machine together to deliver, you may not achieve. I think general AI we are far away. You never know. It might still come in 30 years, but I don't think it is going to be happening in my lifetime, and neither do I want it. I don't want me to be replaced by a machine. All right. So, those are some of the things that we can bring in, right? Where your data pipelining to data messaging to everything, all your ETL layers, to predictive, to you're doing locational intelligence. How can you bring all of this together through a single platform and give it to your power business users to do it? And you guys do the heavy lifting for all the complex tasks, all the complex modeling, still centralized, delivering it. And I'm not saying this is a decentralized model. You are just empowering. And so there's a new, a concept which is highly getting, at least in the developed nations, they're using extensively now, which is from center of excellence, analytics excellence, to center of enablement, which is becoming more important. How do you enable? Because if you're not able to take 20-25% of your knowledge workers to participate in your analytics journey, even if you do whatever best you're doing, sometimes down the line, it might not give you the result that you're seeing now, because there will be competition. There will be something who will leapfrog on certain areas and use all the modern tools like generative AI, automation. Krishna doesn't like the word automation anymore, so forget automation. So we will still see that this journey is not going to come to an end anytime soon. Rather, it's going to obsolescence of any of these technologies is going to happen much faster than, and we saw that. All of us have seen that in the last 20 years, what has changed. So how do you eliminate those risks by able to adopt technology that can help you bridge those gaps, right? So we end with that. If there is any last point that anyone, but I really appreciate, thanks for this engaging discussion, and it's enriching, and that's what we wanted to hear from all of you, right? Any last points for any one of you? Otherwise, we can please join us for cocktail dinner. And Shweta, thanks so much for coming over and moderating this session, right? Any other last points for anyone?
We're all good.
Right? And I know all of you have to go back home. It's late. It's Friday. Yeah. Any last points? Otherwise, you want to conclude? Right?
Done.
Yeah.
We're done.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Please join us for cocktail dinner, and we can definitely. My team is also here.
Yeah, before that, just we'll take a group picture, which
sure.
yes, yeah. So once again, thank you so much for joining us. It was incredibly insightful and engaging. Thank you once again.